But I wanted to thank you, Senator Nelson, for holding this hearing as well. And I wanted to thank Grover Robinson and Mimi Drew for being us here today. Grover actually interrupted his family vacation to be here. And to both Mimi and Grover, your dedication to restoration of Florida's economy and the ecosystem has not gone unnoticed, and we thank you for all that you do. I also, like I said, wanted to thank my Gulf colleagues from Louisiana and Mississippi and everywhere else for the work we've done together. Bipartisan support is ultimately what got the act enacted in the first place, and that's what it's going to take to have proper oversight over its implementation. And today we're holding a very timely hearing on the progress and the challenges of implementing the Restore Act. I have significant concerns about the progress being made to date, particularly at the federal level. I'm optimistic that once a final settlement is reached under the Clean Water Act, our state and local partners will be ready to move forward with the several projects that they have waiting in the wings. And by the way, I'm pleased to see a representative of the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation who is here today. The foundation's already been working on funding projects through the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund, administering approximately $12.5 billion in funds to projects all across the region. It will be good to hear of lessons learned in administering these separate funds and in hopes of perfecting the process overall as we move forward. However, as I mentioned and you've already mentioned, one of my biggest concerns is the slow pace of the administration in meeting, or should I say not meeting, the deadlines that are prescribed under the law. For example, even settlement money received to date cannot be expended without a final rule from the Treasury Department. Under the Restore Act, the Department was directed to establish procedures to expend any money received within 180 days. So that would have been around December of 2012. However, to date, we still have not received a final rule from the Department. And as we'll hear today from Grover and from Mimi, this delay has had some real on-the-ground implication for stakeholders. In Florida, our counties are impeded from even moving forward in the planning process, as they do not have the administrative funds necessary to undertake such a massive project. The restoration process has many moving parts, several different funds, and several different administrators of those funds. Proper planning is going to be key in making sure spending is not duplicative and that the money is spent in the most responsible way possible. Unfortunately, this delay by Treasury has already impeded the success of restoration. And while I appreciate the Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Council's announcement on Friday of last week on their, quote, progress that they've made in finalizing the approval process for projects submitted to them, I find their announcement lacking in the detail necessary to truly provide a clear and straightforward process for interested parties. Lastly, I have two important clarifications to make regarding the interpretation of the Restore Act. First of all, as we negotiated the Act here in the Senate, we worked very hard to put forward in the law exactly how we intended for the money to be spent, both in what projects would be eligible and, by formula, how much each state should receive. I would like to reiterate to the Council and to the stakeholders here today that both myself, and I think I speak for Senator Nelson, fully expect that the Council will adhere to the letter of the law as it was intended. It would be inappropriate of the Council to reinterpret, for example, the oil spill impact allocation formula that divides a portion of the settlement funds between the states. Additionally, there's one issue in Florida related to both the economy and the ecology, and that is the issue of water quality. Just this weekend, just today, we've read reports about the lasting impact of the dispersants that were used. Trace elements are still found in tar balls. We were told that those things would disperse when they came in contact with water. But 4 years later, they're still interacting with its impact, and it's not fully understood the impact the lasting impact that would have on our ecology. And you can just imagine, these are not the kinds of things that you brag about in your Chamber of Commerce pamphlets. As tourists are interacting with these tar balls, and there's real concern about its implications. And already we keep hearing that, well, the long-term impacts of the dispersants are not complicated or not, we don't think they're very dangerous. But already some of the claims that were made initially before their use have proven not to be true, and there simply is not enough research or data to tell people this with the level of certainty that we hear from the industry, and that tragically sometimes government has echoed. So I think we would all like to better understand from everyone here today how they value water quality, particularly as it relates to habitat restoration off the coast of Florida. Again, I want to thank everyone that is here today coming to this hearing, and I appreciate you holding this hearing, Senator Nelson. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just briefly on so that no one wondering where all the money went. In my statement, I said the Gulf Environmental Benefit Fund was $12.5 billion. It's actually $2.5 billion. There's not, there's not $10 billion sitting around. So, Mr. Andrews, what's your role with the council?
So, Senator, I serve as the Deputy Secretary of the Department. Secretary Pritzker is the chair, selected by the states of the council. And so as part of the operating structure, one of the roles of the Deputy Secretary of the Department is essentially to serve as the Chief Operating Officer for the Department. Because this is such a high priority for the Department and making sure this is done well, this is one of the projects, probably right now what I spend the most of my time on, frankly, focusing on and working with our team to make sure that this is being done well and appropriately. So
can you, will Secretary Pritzker or you on her behalf, will you make clear here today that you commit to implementing the oil spill impact formula as it's written by law, as it's written in the law?
Yeah, Senator, the statute is absolutely our guide for implementing this, and we are going to follow the law.
Okay. Ms. Drew, thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. You mentioned that well, let me ask you this. How important is, let me just get to this for the interest of time. How important is water quality to habitat restoration, and do you feel water quality is being appropriately emphasized in all of the current funding streams?
Thank you very much for that question, Senator Rubio. Unfortunately, under NERDA, we have not been able to address water quality, and we know that in the state of Florida particularly, we had aquatic ecosystems that were injured. We hope to be able to see both the NIFWIF funding and hopefully some of the restore funding go to water quality. It's my opinion that you can't have a good habitat, particularly marine or aquatic habitat, unless you have good water quality. Florida has a long history of water quality protection, and we would like to see these funds be used for that continuing protection.
And Mr. Robinson, thank you for being here. I understand you've interrupted a vacation to be here with us today, so I appreciate your commitment to this cause. I wanted to get your thoughts on the council's, what they released on Friday, their proposal for submission and evaluation.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for your invitation to be here. We've seen a little bit of it and started beginning of the process. Anything that begins to advance funds for planning is most important at this particular time, whether we're at the county level or at the state consortium level. I think it's going to be important for Floridians that we get plans moving. So I'm very happy about that. Just want to make sure that in all 23 of our counties, we're able to get the planning that we need to get done in order to advance the projects.
Well, what's been the #1 impediment that the county consortium has had moving forward with the restoration work?
It is absolutely planning dollars. That has been our biggest issue, and also in the sense somewhat that we're a little bit different. The direct component doesn't go directly to the state, so it's kind of hard to figure out how to advance some of those dollars. But once we get going, as I said before, that group has been a very good mesh of state and local government working together. I'm very excited about what I see, and we will be having our next consortium meeting next week in Escambia County at Pensacola Beach, and we are moving forward on that. We just need planning dollars so we can begin to get a consultant moving on getting that plan done.
Mr. Aaronworth, you state that the council anticipates an interim final rule in the next 2 months that would provide access to the states and Florida counties of up to 5% of funding for planning. Well, what's been the delays in issuing that interim final rule?
Well, Senator, we've been very committed to doing everything in our power to ensure that all of the states and federal agencies who participate in the council have the support and the resources that they need to carry out this work. We're very optimistic that we'll get that.
Why has it taken so long?
I think we were exploring a number of options to try to get money quickly to the consortium of counties in Florida as well as the other states. And I think with the interim final rule option, we finally settled on the best approach to get money
So when
immediately.
can we expect that?
This summer. We're moving forward with it as we speak.
The summer meaning August?
We're going to try to do it as quickly as we possibly can.
Mr. Kelsch, given the amount of money and the different funding streams that have resulted from both criminal and civil penalties from the Deepwater Horizon incident, how important is process and planning when selected projects so that we can avoid duplication and inefficiencies?
I think the plea agreements require that the foundation consult closely with the state resource agencies, Fish and Wildlife Service, and NOAA. Importantly, the individuals that we're consulting with, Mimi Drew, Trudy Fisher, are the same individuals who sit and represent the agencies on the Restore Council and the NRD Trustee Council. That coordination, that consultation has been extremely critical relative to avoiding duplication. We are pleased, while we're constrained within the plea agreement in terms of what we can support for planning, we are pleased, as noted in Trudy's comments, our ability to support some planning in the state of Mississippi and Alabama to help address some of those critical needs as well.